سورة المباركة الفاتحة. سورة المباركة الفاتحة. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، شفيع المذنبين وخاتم النبيين، نبينا وشفينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله الآخر لحد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. أما بعد، فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وفرقانه الحميد، وهو أصدق الصادقين وقوله الحق. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألف لام را. كتاب أنزلناه إليك لتخرج الناس من الظلمات إلى النور بإذن ربهم إلى صراط العزيز الحميد. آمنا بالله وصدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات الله محمد وعلى محمد. Respected scholars, elders of the community, my brothers and sisters in Islam, Salamun alaykum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. أعظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمسابنا بأبي عبد الله الحسين عليه الصلاة والسلام. We have arrived at the night of Ashura. Tonight is the night of the heart. Over the last few nights, we have spoken intellectually, we have spoken theologically, we have spoken spiritually, we have spoken philosophically about various different things. We have talked about the various realities that exist, whether they are at the level of fiqh, whether they are at the level of Islamic ethics and morality, whether they are at the level of metaphysics and irfan and spirituality, or whether they are at any other different levels. But tonight, we submit our hearts to Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. And from the depths of our hearts tonight, we cry and we lament, and we cry out to him and say, Labbaik ya Hussein, Labbaik ya Hussein, Labbaik ya Hussein. Tonight is the night of Hussein. It is the night of your heart. It is the personalities like Hussein through whom we can break those shackles that have shackled us in this world And through him we can get enlightenment and liberation and freedom. فَكُونُوا أَحْرَارًا فِي دُنْيَاكُمْ. This is what he says. The goal of tonight, my friends, is the goal where you can gain proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Incredible proximity, for this night is the night where you need that courage that we talked about. We need that courage so that we are able to undertake the journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there is no better personality to take us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than Aba Abdullah. A lover going towards his beloved is tonight. So this is not like, the parwana that goes to the shamma. You will see in Urdu poetry, they talk about the moth that gets attracted to the candlelight. Yes? The candlelight, it gets attracted to that light. That is the love of the moth to the light. We don't talk about that shamma and the parwana. Because for that parwana, for that moth who goes towards that light, that candle light, that parwana has no ma'rifat of the shamma. It has no understanding of the shamma. It is blind love. As soon as it gets close to that candle light, it destroys itself. It burns itself. It burns itself because it has no ma'rifah. It has no understanding of that shamma. That's not true love. That nur becomes nar for that parwana. The love we talk about is the love where you have ma'rifat, you have understanding. This is the night where we need understanding of Aba Abdullah. So that we can get a true love is when you can get something back from your beloved. Where you can start to reflect his attributes, his names and attributes. The names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can start to be reflected within yourself. That is true love. And the reflection of those names and attributes comes through no one other than Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. For he is the one that will take you from zulumat to nur. Zulumat ila nur. He is the one that has that light through which you can be enlightened, through which you can be liberated, through which you can have freedom. فَكُونُوا أَحْرَارًا فِي دُنْيَاكُمْ. This is the journey we need to take tonight, my friends. It's the night of Ashura. The destination is liqa'ullah. The destination is meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need to ask this question tonight. What is it that you desire in this Muharram? What is your desire? Who is going to be that person tonight who will ask for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It's this night of spiritual liberation. A night where you can get so much proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by reflecting the names and the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by looking at the principles and characteristics and the values of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. The rituals that we carry out, the rituals we will carry out tonight, and the rituals that we'll carry out tomorrow, these are the launch pad. These are the means for us towards achieving our goal. They are just the launch pad, right? They are not the journey. They are just the means through which we launch ourselves tonight. We need to launch ourselves tonight to Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. Use the adha of Aba Abdullah to be able to launch ourselves to a higher spiritual elevation. Tonight is the night of Aba Abdullah. Al-Kundusi, who's a Hanifite, a Hanafi narrator, he narrates a tradition from Abu Dhar. who narrates that the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, "Inna mathala Ahlul-bayt fiikum mathala safinatun nu. Man raqibaha naja wa man takhallafa anha halak." This is from the Holy Prophet. And the Holy Prophet is saying the similitude of my progeny amongst you is that of the ark of Noah, is that of the ship of Hazrat Nuh. Whomsoever boards it will be saved, and whoever lags behind will perish. A companion of our sixth Imam comes to him and he says to him, "Surely Al-Hussein is also the lamp of guidance and the ship of salvation. But aren't you all the Imams? Are you not all ships of salvation as well?" According to this hadith, all of you are the ships of salvation. And the sixth Imam replies to him, he says, "Look, kulluna sufunan najat illa an safinat al-Hussein." And then he says, "Was'aw wa asraw." He says, all of us are the ships of salvation except for the ship of Hussein. Because Hussein's ship is more spacious and it is more faster. Hussein. Today is the night of Hussein. Allama Tabatabai, he says that if we were to know the power of Hussein on this night, the power of Abu Abdullah, he has great attention towards those who want to take a journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we need to get to that moment on tonight in our hearts where our hearts should change tonight, should change. You should be transformed to another person after the Masayib that you listen to of the day of Ashura tomorrow. You should be a different person tomorrow because it is Hussein that will take you there. And that means we have to make some decisions tonight. We have to make some commitments tonight. And we need to start that journey tonight. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran, He says, أَلَمْ يَعْنِ لِلَّذِينَ أَن تَخْشَى قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. Look at the question that Allah is asking. What a pleasurable ayat this is. أَلَمْ يَعْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَى قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. Allah is saying, has the time not come that you should change? Has the time not come that you should change? How many more Muharrams do you want? How many more Ashura nights do you want? How many more Laylatul Qadr do you want? Has the time not come that you should change? Alam ya'ni lilladhina lan taksha'a qulubuhum li zikrillah. Has the time not come that you should change? There was one guy, his name was Fuzail. His name was Fuzail ibn Ayyas. Fuzail ibn Ayyas was a daku, right? You know what a daku is, right? A thief. He was a bad person. He was a dacoit. He was a dacoit. And people used to be scared of Fuzail. They would hear the name of Fuzail and they would tremble. Fuzail ibn Ayyas, one day he was walking in the streets of Medina. And people knew this guy is so dangerous that when he wanted to rob you, he would tell you on your face, "I'm going to come and rob you." And you're not going to be able to do anything about it. Fuzail was one day walking in the streets of Medina and he saw a beautiful young woman. And he saw this beautiful young woman, so he went to this woman and he said to this woman that tonight, I'm going to come to your house and I'm going to take you away with me. I want you to tell your mother and your father to keep you ready to marry me, because I have decided that I'm going to marry you tonight. I'm going to come. This young lady, she became scared because this was Fuzail ibn Ayas. And what Fuzail says, he does. So she went to her mom and her dad. She went to her parents and she said, this is what happened. I saw Fuzail and this is what Fuzail said to me. So the mother and the father were scared. And the father said, if Fuzail has said this, then surely he will do it. And that night, Fuzail ibn Ayas, as his intention was, he went to the house of this couple to marry this woman, this young lady, that he had promised and challenged that he would marry her. So he went, but as all dacoits do, he didn't use the front door. He went through the back door, and he wanted to go through the back alley and the back door. Just as he was climbing the wall to get into the house of this family, he heard somebody reciting the Quran. And that person was reciting this ayah. أَلَمْ يَعْنِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ. Has the time not come that you should change? And when Fuzail heard this ayah, it hit him in the heart. And he stopped there for a moment. And he said to himself, indeed, has the time not come that I should change? And the history writes that Fuzail stepped out. He decided that he was going to change. The ayah had had an effect on his heart, and he changed. He returned back. The history says that for years nobody knew where Fuzail was. Nobody could locate Fuzail. He did tawbah, he did istighfar, and then a few years later he was found as one of the companions of the sixth Imam, Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. If a dacoit, if a daku like Fuzail can change, then why not us? Why not us? We just have to take the journey, my friends. Tonight is that night where you need to see Imam Hussein. You need to feel the presence of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Because this is that personality that can take you on this journey faster than anybody else. Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Hussein changes the destiny of 72 people in one night. One night. He changes the destiny of 72 people. Give yourselves and your hearts to Hussein on this night. Give your hearts to Hussein. And then say, Labbaik ya Hussein. And see the power of this man on this night. Look at Hur. He changed Hur and the destiny of Hur in one night. The same Hur who had held the reins of the horse of Hussein is changed in one night. Zuhair ibn Qayn, we talked about Zuhair ibn Qayn. Zuhair ibn Qayn, he goes into the tent of Abu Abdullah, a different person, comes out a few minutes later, totally different. Changed the destiny of Zuhair in a few minutes. A transformational change needs to occur, my friends, tonight. A justification for the commitment of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Don't let your azar be wasted tonight. Tonight is the night of spiritual decisions. It cannot be the same. It cannot be the same. And it cannot be the Soda Nu Josh. Yes? Ghazali talks about, a pen of animals, like sheep and gazelles. And he said, this pen of animals, what happens is all these sheep and gazelles in a little pen, and they're busy eating away the grass. And they're drinking water and eating away a grass. A lion comes, and all of a sudden a lion comes. He pounces on one of the gazelles, takes him away, and goes away. And the animals in that pen, for 3 to 5 minutes, they become stunned. They don't know what has happened. They're totally stunned. The lion has come and has taken one of them away. They're stunned, but it's only for 3 to 5 minutes. After the 5 minutes, they go back to their grazing, just as it was before. We cannot be like that, my friends. This is the night of transformation, a night where we reform and resign to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what the night is about. This is the night. Look at Abu Abdullah. Abu Abdullah, he has just had his 6-month-old baby martyred in his hands. And he comes to the Khaymagah with his 6-month-old baby. And he gives the 6-month-old baby to Rubab. And as he gives the 6-month-old baby to Rubab, he starts digging a grave for Ali Asghar. And he's digging the grave. And the historians write that as Abu Abdullah was digging the grave, he was saying something. What was he saying? And they report that he was saying that, "Oh my Lord, aytamtu ayali likay arak." He says, "Oh Allah, I have orphaned my children so that I may come and see you, Ya Allah." And he says, and if they cut me into pieces, irban irba, if they cut me into pieces, my heart will not long or will not yearn for anyone except you, O Allah. Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Tomorrow you will do an amal. See, tonight is the night of symbolism. You have to appreciate, how do I get connected with Abu Abdullah? How do I get connected with him so that he will take me and ascend me to this higher level? Tomorrow you will do Amal of Ashura, right? And in the Amal you will walk 7 times. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Radan biqada'ihi. You know this Amal, right? You will walk 7 nights forward, 7 times forward, and 7 times back. Why? Why? The reason you do this amal is because this is the sunnah of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. For on that day of Ashura, after his 6-month-old baby was martyred, he takes the baby, he walks towards the Khaymagah 7 times, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, and retreats back 7 times. That is the amal that you will perform tomorrow, right? The amal of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Ever thought why, of all the things that Imam Hussein did on the day of Ashura, this amal is part of the amal of Ashura? Why this? Why is it this amal that is part of the Ashura? Why not something else that Imam Hussein did? The reason is that when you do this amal, it is a symbolic gesture for the question that you have to ask. Imam is taking his sacrifice to the Khaymagah. He is giving his sacrifice to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The challenge for us when we do this amal is, who is your Ali Asghar? Who is your sacrifice going to be? What are we going to sacrifice on the day of Ashura? What deplorable deeds have we been willing to give up this Muharram for our Imam? That's the challenge of this Amal. These are symbols, my friends. Call to the resignation for the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I was disturbed yesterday. When I heard that there are people in our community, this is my community, that there are people in our community who still have reservations about the symbols of Azaa of Aba Abdullah. And I'm not here to convince you, or I'm not here to make you or force you, but I want you to understand that there is a philosophy behind it. There is a purpose. And whether you perform it or not, you do not have the right to be judgmental about it. So let's look at these symbols. Allah in the Quran says, in Surah Hajj, ayat number 32. We will talk Quran. Ayat number 32. ذَلِكَ وَمَنْ يُؤَذِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. Allah says in the Quran, He has spoken about certain signs that lead to the recognition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Listen carefully. There are certain signs that lead to the recognition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in so doing, He has emphasized that whoever reveres these signs, whoever respects these signs, and whoever recognizes these signs, وَمَنْ يُؤَذِّمْ, whoever reveres these signs, they give proof of piety that is not superficial or superfluous. Taqwa al-qulub, the piety that is deeply entrenched in the heart. Min sha'air Allah. Whatever reminds you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and whatever refers to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is from the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is min sha'air Allah. And to respect and honor something that is min sha'air Allah, that stimulates the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without the intention of worship. Very important to understand. Worship is only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Without the intention of worship, that is described as taqwa al-qulub, piety of the heart. Min sha'air Allah. The animal of slaughter in Hajj, that you slaughter in Hajj, after you finish Hajj and you do qurbani, that animal cannot be compared to that animal that you slaughter in sadaqah or in aqiqah or to make pilau at home. You cannot compare that animal that you slaughter in Mina with this animal. Why? وَالْبُدْنَ جَعَلْنَاهَا لَكُمْ مِنْ شَعَائِرِ اللَّهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that that animal is min sha'air Allah. It is symbol of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you go to Hajj in the old days, what used to happen in the old days was that you would go to Hajj and you would make a deal with the guy who was selling the animals. He would say to you 200 riyals, 2,000 riyals. 200 would be very cheap. I would buy many of them. 2,000 riyals. And you would say, look at your animal. It's so ugly. It's not even good looking. I give you 1,000. And you start to negotiate. And you settle for 1,500 riyals. You give him 1,500 riyals, he gives you the animal. And in those days, what used to happen is the animal had a rope around their neck, so that you could then, now everything is automated. But in those days, your animal would have a rope around its neck, and then you would take the animal to a place where you could do your qurbani, and you would slaughter the animal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that before you made the deal, you were saying all these things about that animal, whatever you wanted to say. But Allah says that once you've made the deal, you gave that person the money, and he gives you the animal. Once you've made the deal, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la tuhillu sha'air Allah wala ash-shahr al-harama wala al-hadya wala al-kala'ida. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that once you have made that deal, that rope around the neck of that animal, that is min sha'air Allah. You cannot disrespect even the rope around the neck of that animal. You cannot even disrespect that. What is the secret? Thousands of years ago, look at the symbolism in Islam. And this is Quran. This is Quran. Why are we having such a problem? This is Quran. Thousands of years ago, a woman walks and runs between two mountains, Safa and Marwa. Hajra runs between Safa and Marwa. Hajra runs between these two mountains, Safa and Marwa. That running of the wife of a prophet, she was not a Masuma. She was the wife of a prophet. That act was done for the survival of a prophet who was a Masum, Ismail. But that act was so symbolic that that woman, Hajra, is running between Safa and Marwa. The symbolism in that is that when you in Hajj run between Safa and Marwa, it is an act where you are running between hope and fear. It is for you to symbolically understand that your life revolves between hope and fear. That's why you run between Safa and Marwa. The same way Hajra ran between Safa and Marwa. And then Quran says, Inna Safa wal Marwatan min sha'air Allah. Safa and Marwa is from the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's an issue of symbolism. The qurbani that you give in Hajj is a symbol of the sacrifice of Ismail by Ibrahim. Is it not? It is it not? All the Muslims do it. It is a symbol of the sacrifice of Ismail by Ibrahim. In a similar way, when that Jula comes out tonight, that is the symbol that will remind us of the sacrifice of Ali Asghar by Aba Abdullah. Min sha'air Allah. You go to Hajj, what do? You hit shaitan, don't you? The three shaitans. What is the shaitan? Doesn't make sense. It's just a wall, stone. You pick up the pebbles in Muzdalifah, 7 pebbles each time. You go and you start hitting the shaitan. Why? Why hit the shaitan? Everybody does it. All the Muslims do it. They hit the shaitan. The philosophy behind it is what? That when you are hitting the shaitan, you are actually hitting the shaitan that is inside of you. Are you not? That is the symbolism behind it. You are not hitting the wall. You are hitting that wall because you are actually hitting the shaitan inside of you. In the same way, when you raise your arm and you bring your arm to your chest, and when you hit your chest, it is a symbol that is manifesting to you the love and the virtues of Aba Abdullah. The whole religion is based on symbolisms, my friend. Don't worship it. Worship is only for Allah. It's only for Allah. Whatever refers to Allah and reminds you of Allah and leads you to the obedience of Allah is from the signs of Allah. Min sha'air Allah. And وَمَنْ يُؤَذِّبْ, whoever glorifies and gives reverence to it, they have taqwa al-qulub. To respect and honor it is taqwa al-qulub. We cannot look down upon these things that lead us to the nearness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by way of obedience. We do not look at what it is made of. The animal, which is inferior to man, because it is going to lead you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that animal in Mina becomes superior to man. Min sha'air Allah. You know, Adam was created from clay, yes? From dust. And I mentioned this in my last majlis on the 8th night. But let me complete this. Let me complete this properly so that we have a good picture of this. Adam was made of clay. Allah orders the angels to prostrate. Everybody prostrates. Shaitan refuses. What was missing from Shaitan was taqwa al-qulub. Iblis does not bow down. What does it say? قَالَ أَنَا خَيْرٌ مِّنْهُ. I am better than him. قَالَ أَنَا خَيْرٌ مِّنْهُ. I am better than him. خَلَقْتَنِي مِن نَارٍ وَخَلَقْتَهُ مِن طِينٍ. I am made of fire and he is made of clay. This, my friends, is the difference. The difference is how you view it. The difference is what is your interpretation of it. What is your approach to it? It's how you view it. What is your attitude towards it? The malaika bowed down because it was an order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was a command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That prostration to Adam was ascribed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because it was Allah saying to them, I want you to bow to Adam. Shaitan was looking at what it was made of. And in a similar way, don't look at the alam as being made of a piece of wood and a cloth. If you look at it that way, you're looking at it the way Shaitan looked at Adam, looked at what it is ascribed to. If it is ascribed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it is min sha'air Allah. And if it is min sha'air Allah, then Allah says, وَمَنْ يُعَظِّمْ, revere it and respect it and honor it. When you say, what is this? What is this mimbar made of? What is this mimbar made of? This mimbar is made of what? Some pieces of wood. The mimbar is just made of some few planks of wood. But once this mimbar is created, once you have symbolized it at Mimbar-e-Rasul, then the Holy Prophet says that now watch out. This is now Mimbar-e-Rasul. Only those who know will sit on it. Monkeys will not sit on it. Min sha'air Allah. Azadar is not a ceremonial lamentation. It has a purpose. And the purpose is related to Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. This is the night of Hussein. The night of Hussein. And you pray tribute to him. But remember one thing, the important thing is the truth of ta'azim. The truth of reverence is not just to kiss it. It's not just to kiss the lash and the tabut and the alam. That's not the truth of reverence. The truth of reverence is when you approach it and you kiss it you are making a commitment to Aba Abdullah. You are saying to Aba Abdullah, oh Aba Abdullah, labbaik ya Hussein. I have come to you. I am committing to you that I will do my best to follow your way. That is ta'zim. That is true ta'zim. I am going to follow your commands. It is not a tradition. It is not a superstition. It has a purpose. And you know, this issue is not new. Huh? This issue that people say, no, it looks like you are idol worshipping. This is not new. Because it was there in the time of Amirul Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Someone came to Imam Ali alayhi salam and said to Imam Ali, he says, why don't we remove, this Hajr-e-Aswad in the time of Amirul Mu'mineen? The people came to him and said, why don't we remove this Hajr-e-Aswad? Because it looks like idol worshipping. People are coming, they are touching it, they are kissing it. It looks like idol worshipping. Let's remove the Hajr-e-Aswad. And Amirul Mu'mineen said to them, look, understand that this Hajr-e-Aswad is min sha'air Allah. And he says that min sha'air Allah has some properties. Amirul Mu'mineen. He says min sha'air Allah has some properties. What are the properties, O Ali? He says, look, when you start your tawaf, you turn towards it and you say, Bismillahi Allahu Akbar. He says, when you turn towards it and say, Bismillahi Allahu Akbar, the property of min sha'air Allah is that it registers your name. So that it can say, yes, this person came. And then the second property, Amirul Mu'mineen says, is when you go and kiss that Hajr-e-Aswad, because it is min sha'air Allah, it is able to distinguish the kiss of a believer from that who is a munafiq. Amirul Mu'mineen. In the same way, when you go and kiss the alam of Abul Fadl Abbas, that alam has the capacity to record your name. And it has the capacity to distinguish the kiss of a believer from a munafiq, because it is min sha'air Allah. The azmat is in our attitude, my friends. It's in our attitude. Look at Surah Yusuf. اذهبوا بقميصي هذا فألقوه على وجه أن أبي يأتي بصيرا وأتوني بأهلكم أجمعين. Surah Yusuf, ayat number 93. In Surah Yusuf, the shirt of Hazrat Yusuf has great significance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Yusuf tells his brothers, he says, go with this shirt of mine and cast it over the face of my father. And once you do that, he will become clear-sighted. Because Yaqub had become blind. He was crying for Yusuf for so many years. So Yusuf is saying to his brothers, Quran. This is Quran. Now you cannot tell me hadith, zaif, sari nathi, this is Quran, right? Quran, Yusuf is saying, take this shirt to his brothers and cast it on the face of my father Yaqub, for his blindness will go away. He will become enlightened. He will start to see. There will be basira in him. And then ayat number 96. فَلَمَّا أَنَا جَاءَ الْبَشِيرُ الْقَاءُ عَلَى وَجْهِ كَرْدًا بَصِيرًا قَالَ أَلَمْ أَقُلْ لَكُمْ إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ مِنَ اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, when that bearer of the glad tidings arrived, when that brother arrived of Yusuf, what did he do? He cast the shirt on the face of Yaqub. And then the Quran says, when that happened, Yaqub became clear-sighted. You see, the shirt is a means. The sight comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the shirt is ascribed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is the shirt of a ma'soom. It is ascribed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The sight is given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not the kamal of the shirt. The shirt is wasila. It is a symbol. Understand the symbol. If that shirt of Yusuf can have such an effect, then why cannot our symbols have an effect? Why not? Because they are min sha'air Allah. Today, when we kiss the alam, tomorrow, when we respect the taboot and the lash, let's do it with some understanding and ma'arifat. Let's do it with some understanding. And if you don't feel comfortable, that's okay. But that does not give you the right to make comments about it and judge other people for it. It does not give you that right. You have your issues, deal with them. That's okay, deal with them. Nobody is saying to you or forcing you to do something. This is not wajib, sunnat, haram, mubah, whatever. This is not jurisprudence. You do not have a connection, no problem. It's your issue. But the person who is connected, understand that he has a love of Aba Abdullah in his heart. And he is using it as min sha'air Allah, not for you to judge that I think he's worshipping it. How do you know he's worshipping it? You should ask from Abul Fadl Abbas. We should ask from Aba Abdullah al-Hussein. We should ask them that they allow us to get proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should ask Imam Hussein that if you were able to take Zuhair with you to the proximity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if you were able to carry Hur with you towards the nearness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then why not me, O Aba Abdullah? Why not? For I am ready on this night. The commitment should be there. I am ready to change. I am ready, O Aba Abdullah. And once that heart is ready, and you will know, you will know when that heart is ready. Once that heart is ready, then say Labbaik Ya Hussein. And then see where Hussein takes you. On that day of Ashura, it is very hard to recite this Messiah, wallahi. On the day of Ashura, you have this battered and tired Imam. This Imam who had gathered the pieces of Qasim. This Imam who had consolidated the arms of Abul Fadl. This Imam who had taken out the spear from the chest of Ali al-Akbar. As he looks around, none of his companions are there. As he looks around, none of his family members are there. At that time, Abu Abdullah al-Hussein goes onto the sand dunes of Karbala. And he starts to give a cry of istighasa. He says, Hal min nasirin yansuruna, Hal min muhisin yughisuna. Is there anybody out there who is there to help me? When Abu Abdullah makes this cry, the wife of Imam Hussein, Rubab, she comes running out of the tent. She comes running out of the tent and she says to Abu Abdullah and signals to Imam Hussein to return towards the Khaymagah, to return towards the tent. Immediately Imam Hussein returns towards the tent. As Imam comes towards the tent, Rabab comes to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and she says, Aka, when you made this call of Hal min Nasirin Yansuruna, our 6-month-old Ali Asghar threw himself out of the cradle. When Imam Hussein saw this, he said to Rabab, he says, Rabab, I understand what is going on. My son Ali Asghar is dying of thirst. Imam says, give me my Ali Asghar. Rabab gives Imam Ali Asghar. Imam takes the 6-month-old baby. He puts the baby in his arm and he shrouds his Abba on top of the baby. And then he says to Rabab, he says, Rabab, I'm going to take Ali Asghar into the battlefield of Karbala. He says, Rabab, I will take him there and I will see if there are any people in the army of Yazid who may also have small children. And if they are those people, they may find some mercy and compassion in their hearts to be able to give my son a few drops of water. How Mazloom is my Imam? Rabab is saying to Abu Abdullah, oh my master, she says, are you sure you want to take Ali Asghar into the battlefield? For I have seen whomsoever has gone in that direction today, and none of them have returned back alive. Hussein says, don't worry, Rabab, I will take Ali al-Asghar. Azadar Imam Hussein comes with Ali al-Asghar into the battlefield of Karbala. The army gets confused, for they see Hussein is holding something in his arm. The Abba is shrouded over it. The people start to talk to each other. Perhaps Hussein has brought the Quran. Perhaps he will start to ask for some miracle. Perhaps this is the time that we are doomed. They start to talk to each other. At that point, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he takes the Abba out, and the beautiful 6-month-old baby is seen by the army of Yazid. At that point, Imam says to the people, your enmity is with me. What is the fault of my 6-month-old baby? If you could just give him a couple of drops of water, inshallah, my mother Fatima will quench your thirst in the hereafter. When the army hears this, they are silent, but they bow their heads down and they start to weep. Imam says, if you think that by giving Ali Asghar some water, I may drink some water, then don't worry. I will put Ali Asghar on the burning fields of Karbala. Imam takes Ali Asghar. He puts the baby on the burning fields of Karbala. And then he says to Ali Asghar, oh Ali Asghar, your father has done whatever he could do. Your father has done whatever he could do. Now the rest is up to you. The historians write, Ali Asghar takes his dried tongue and he starts to put his dried tongue over his parched lips, showing the people of Yazid that Ali Asghar has not had anything to drink for 3 days. Azadaran Hussein, Umar Saad comes to Abu Abdullah. He says to Hussein, oh Hussein, you still have a chance. Do the Bayyat of Yazid and we will give some water to your baby. When Hussein hears this, he picks up Ali Asghar. The historians write that Ali says something in the ear of Ali Asghar. What Hussein has said to Ali Asghar, nobody knows. But I think perhaps Hussein says to Ali Asghar, oh Ali Asghar, they are asking me the question of Bayyat. And perhaps Ali Asghar would have replied, oh my father, tell Hormala what is he waiting for? For Asghar is ready to be sacrificed. Azadaran Hussein, Umar Saad, now comes to Hurmala. Umar Saad comes to Hurmala and he says to Hurmala, Hurmala, Ikta Kalamul Hussein, eradicate the sign of Hussein, eradicate and destroy the child of Hussein. Azadar Hurmala takes the first arrow. He aims it at the neck of Ali Asghar. The arrow falls onto the ground. He takes the second arrow. He aims it at Ali Asghar. The arrow falls down onto the ground. When Umar Asad sees it, he comes to Hurmala and he says to Hurmala, Hurmala, what is the matter with you? You are the best of my archers. Why is it that you have missing then not eradicating the sign of Hussein? Hurmala says, oh Umar Asad, you do not know, for whenever I aim the arrow at this 6-month-old baby, from the corner of my eye, I see the khaymagah of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And in that khaymagah, I see one mother who's pacing back and forth, waiting for her 6-month-old baby to come back and for his thirst to be quenched. Azadaran Hussein, Hurmala now fires the arrow. The third arrow is fired. The arrow pierces the arm of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. It goes into the neck of Ali al-Asghar. Imam says, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi rajiun. Azadaran Hussein, Hurmala کہتا ہے عمر سعد کو کہ میں جب بھی نشانہ لگاتا ہوں میری نظر حسین کے خیمہ گاہ کی طرف پہنچتی ہے. وہاں میں دیکھتا ہوں کہ ایک ماں ہے جو بڑی بےتابی سے اپنے بچے کا انتظار کر رہی ہے, اپنے پیاسے کا انتظار کر رہی ہے. عزادارو, ہرملا نے جب تیر لگایا ہے تو یہ تیر کلائی حسین کی کلائی سے ہو کے گردن علی اصغر میں چلی گئی. لیکن عزادارو, قرآن رکھے میرے سر پہ, تیر کا کیا کام ہے؟ تیر جہاں لگتا ہے وہاں شغاف بناتا ہے. تیر جہاں لگتا ہے ورنہ وہاں وہ ایک مارک بناتا ہے, وہاں ایک شغاف بناتا ہے. قرآن رکھیے میرے سر پہ, ہرملا کے تیر نے شغاف نہیں بنایا ہے. تبریزی امر والا لکھتا ہے ذبحہ ہو من الحزن الی الحزن. ہرملا کے تیر نے اس بچے کو ایک کان سے دوسرے کان تک ذبح کر دیا. ایک کان سے دوسرے کان تک ذبح کر دیا. عزادارو, تیر ایک ہے, اسی میں باپ کی کلائی ہے, اس میں بچے کی گردن ہے. عزادارو, حسین اب علی اصغر کی لاش لے کے رباب کے پاس آتے ہیں. ایک مرتبہ جب رباب کے پاس آتے ہیں 7 مرتبہ آگے جاتے ہیں. انا للہ و انا الیہ راجعون رضا بقضائہ و تسلیما لامرہ. حسین 7 مرتبہ جاتے ہیں, 7 مرتبہ واپس آتے ہیں. جو ششماہ کی لاش کو جب حسین رباب کے پاس لے کے آئے ہیں, ایک مرتبہ رباب نے علی اصغر کی لاش کو دیکھا اور کہا کیا بچے ایسے ذبح کیے جاتے ہیں, کیا بچے ایسے ذبح کیے جاتے ہیں. مورخ لکھتے ہیں کہ حسین نے ایک مرتبہ علی اصغر کو رباب کے ہاتھوں میں دیا, کہا رباب میرے ساتھ چلو. اب رباب کے ہاتھ ماں کے ہاتھ میں 6 مہینے کا علی اصغر ہے. اب باپ اب خیمے کے پیچھے جا رہا ہے, ماں بچے کے ساتھ کھڑی ہوئی ہے. باپ نے تلوار لی, علی اصغر کی قبر کھودنے لگے. امام قبر کھود رہے ہیں, رباب انتظار کر رہی ہے. یا اللہ, یہ کیسا منظر ہے. عزادارو, عاشور کی شام جب سب لاشیں اکٹھے ہوئے ہیں, جب سب لاشیں اکٹھے ہو رہے تھے تو عمر سعد نے کہا کہ ایک لاش کی کمی ہے. عمر سعد نے کہا کہ ایک لاش کی کمی ہے. لوگوں نے کہا کہ عمر سعد یہ علی اصغر کی لاش ہے. علی اصغر کی لاش حسین دفن کر چکے ہیں. اور عمر سعد نے کہا نہیں مجھے علی اصغر کی لاش چاہیے. عزادارو ریاض القدس کی میں روایت پر پڑھتا ہوں, ریاض القدس میں ملتا ہے کہ عمر سعد نے حکم دیا کہ شمر کو کہا کہ تم گھوڑوں کو لے کر, کچھ لوگوں کو لے کر ان کو گھوڑوں پہ سوار کرو اور ان کے ہاتھوں میں نیزہ دو تاکہ وہ کربلا کے میدان کی تلاشی لے سکے. عزادارو عمر سعد نے جب یہ حکم دیا ہے, شمر نے لوگوں کو جمع کیا, سب گھوڑے پہ سوار ہوئے, ہاتھوں میں نیزہ لے کے سب کربلا کے میدان کی تلاشی کر رہے ہیں. علی اصغر کی لاش کی تلاشی ہو رہی ہے. عزادارو ایک وقت آتا ہے, شمر نے ایک مرتبہ آواز دی, ہاتھ میں نیزہ لیے, جب کربلا کے میدان کی تلاشی کی ہے, جب یہ ملعون نے ایک نیزہ مارا ہے اور نیزے کو جب بلند کیا ہے, اور پھر شمر نے کہا کہ دیکھو اصغر میرے نیزے کے اوپر ہے. جب یہ کہا ہے رباب خیمے سے باہر نکل گئی, ایک مرتبہ علی اصغر کے لاش کو دیکھا, کہا ہائے میرا چشمہ, ہائے میرا اصغر. سکینہ خیمے سے نکل گئی, علی اصغر کی لاش کو دیکھ کے کہتی ہے بھائی تم 2 دفعہ کربلا میں شہید ہوئے, 2 دفعہ کربلا میں شہید ہوئے ہو. عزادارو آخری مصائب پڑھ رہا ہوں, آخری مصائب پڑھ رہا ہوں. آج عاشور کی رات ہے, آج رونے کی رات ہے. واللہ جب آنسو ٹپ کے آنکھوں سے تو دل سے دعائیں کرنا, اللہ آپ کی دعا قبول کرے گا. علی اصغر کا ایک لقب باب الحوائج ہے, علی اصغر کے صدقے میں دعا کرنا, اللہ آپ کی دعا قبول کرے گا. عزادارو جب یہ لوٹا ہوا قافلہ مدینے واپس آیا ہے, ایک مرتبہ جب مدینے واپس آیا ہے, زینب ایک مرتبہ بیٹھ جاتی ہے مسجد النبوی میں, اور رباب اس کے ساتھ بیٹھتی ہے, اور جناب فاطمہ صغریٰ آگے بڑھتی ہے. رباب کے قریب جناب فاطمہ صغریٰ بیٹھ گئی. ایک مرتبہ فاطمہ صغریٰ نے کہا, جناب فاطمہ صغریٰ نے بی بی زینب سے کہا, پھوپھی اماں سب مارے گئے, پھوپھی اماں سب مارے گئے. امام جناب زینب نے کہا ہاں بیٹی سب شہید ہو گئے. ایک مرتبہ حسین کی بیٹی ہے, ابھی بھی صبر ہے, کہتی ہے اماں مجھے سکینہ نظر نہیں آ رہی. جناب زینب نے کہا بیٹی سکینہ زندان شام میں کام آ گئی, لیکن مورخ لکھتے ہیں اب فاطمہ صغریٰ یہاں دیکھ رہی ہے, وہاں دیکھ رہی ہے, کچھ ڈھونڈ رہی ہے, اس کو کچھ نہیں ملتا ہے. ایک مرتبہ رباب نے کہا فاطمہ صغریٰ سے بیٹی کیا بات ہے, کیا ڈھونڈ رہی ہو؟ فاطمہ صغریٰ نے کہا اماں میں علی اصغر کو ڈھونڈ رہی ہوں. جب یہاں سے نکلا تھا تو چھوٹا سا ننھا سا چشمہ تھا, آج تو شاید چلنے بھی لگا ہوگا, مجھے علی اصغر نظر نہیں آتا, بس یہ سننا تھا. ایک مرتبہ رباب طرف گئی, کہتی ہے بیٹی نہ پوچھ, میرا اصغر حرملہ کے تیر سے ذبح ہو گیا.